Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Chris Davis. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield. I talked about it in one other video, but I just gave a brief description. I was more talking about the Dynamax phenomenon because they released it on a Pokemon Direct or a Nintendo Direct a while back, so I was really amazed by that. But in this video, I'm gonna discuss like the whole game, Pokemon Sword and Shield. I want to give you my thoughts on the game, about the information we have right now, and some of the ongoing controversies that's going on with the game. So, Pokemon Sword and Shield, my thoughts. This game looks really promising. For one, it's not on just like a handheld console like the 3DS. It's something that's more powerful, a home console. It's on the Switch, so we've already seen through the directs and through E3 what the graphics look like, and they look stunning. They look really amazing, especially when you go out into the wild area. You see the environment. There's been a lot of comparisons to Breath of the Wild, and it does look very similar to Breath of the Wild. I'm playing that game right now. It is pretty amazing. I'll talk about Breath of the Wild in another video. But Pokemon Sword and Shield, the wild area, it looks amazing. It looks like they've taken Pokemon Go to where the Pokemon aren't hiding necessarily in the grass anymore. They're walking around, but they put a 3D camera on it. It's not face down camera. It's a 3D camera, and different Pokemon will appear depending on the weather. So that's really interesting. It does look like Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be more difficult than any other previous Pokemon game. Because usually in Pokemon games, when you start off, they have you in a weak area, so you can kind of like build up because your Pokemon aren't so strong at the very beginning. But it looks like in this area, when I was watching the E3 demos, you could like run into like stronger Pokemon like at the very beginning when you're not so strong. So that is going to be a very interesting challenge. Another thing I liked about Pokemon Sword and Shield, speaking of the wild area, the Dynamax, the max raid battles. So those are happening in the wild area in places called Pokemon Dens. So when you go to the Pokemon Dens, you could either get 4 players online, or if you don't have that, there'll be AIs to play. But there's 4 players, and you're both battling this giant Pokemon. And one player is only allowed to Dynamax their Pokemon. So very interesting concept. The wild Dynamax Pokemon is going to stay big the entire time, because usually when trainers Dynamax their Pokemon, it only lasts for 3 turns, but a wild Dynamax Pokemon can stay as big as long as they want to. It's going to last way longer than 3 turns. There's no limit. Also, when you're battling the wild Dynamax Pokemon, when you get their health down to a certain amount, you're going to put up this guard, and you have to break that guard down. And then when you do that, you can damage them again, and when you've defeated them, then you can catch them in a really awesome way. Speaking of like Dynamaxing, trainers can Dynamax their Pokemon with the Dynamax band, but they can't just do it anywhere. It has to either be in a wild area or in a stadium that allows Dynamaxing. So those are the gym leaders who are going to utilize Dynamaxing, it looks like. We saw Nessa and her Dreadnought, and we saw Milo and his Eldegoss. They Dynamax their Pokemon. So it looks like in the gyms, they're really going to utilize Dynamaxing. And when you're doing the gym battles, the Dynamaxing lasts 3 turns. So Dynamax is very interesting. We're going to have to wait and see how it's going to change up the meta. It is, because these max moves, when you watch them, they do other effects. Some moves set up terrain, others set up weather. So it's very interesting on how players will be utilizing this in the meta game to like set up or sweep or to just wall out their opponents. You're gonna see how it works. Dynamaxing looks like a big combination of Mega Evolution and Z moves. So it's really good. The characters and Pokemon Sword and Shield. Hop, when I looked at the website said he would be one of our rivals. I'm kind of glad about that because it doesn't look like Hop's going to be a serious rival. It's just with the Pokemon games, like when I play them, I prefer to have like a serious rival. Like it just makes the games more interesting. I get it why Game Freak hasn't done it that much lately because they don't want the kids today to quit, because they say if you make things too hard, children will quit the game. But if you make it too easy, the game's just way too boring. So you have to make it challenging. So hopefully Hop will be a tough rival. If he's not, I hope there's someone else. Another interesting character, Hop's older brother, Leon. He's the champion of Galar. So from a design point of view aspect, he looks pretty amazing. He actually looks like a champion. So we saw him with a Charizard. So I'm really interested in seeing the rest of his team. Other characters, Professor Magnolia. She's supposed to be the most knowledgeable one about Dynamaxing, or the lead researcher on it. And then there's her granddaughter Sonia. So she's supposed to give players tips throughout the games. Now the starters. Starters look pretty cool. The designs look really nice. It's not black and white designs. This time the designs look really, really nice so far. So there's Scorbunny, Sobble, and Grookey. Now which one am I going to choose? Just as first impressions, I would choose Grookey, but I have to see what they evolve into. I have to see their final stage evolution before I make up my mind. I have to see that final stage evolution because that always determines it for me, unfortunately. So I would have to see their final stage evolutions. But from just looking at it for first impressions, I'm thinking about Grookey. One other thing to talk about with the game is the legendary. So there's Zacian and Zamazenta. Zamazenta really looks like the cool one. Which version am I going to get? I can't make up my mind. When I'm picking like a Pokemon game, it really determines. It's based off of like maybe 2 things. One, the mascot on the game. That's one. But 2, the version exclusive. So if you play with Pokemon, whenever they release a new generation, there's version exclusives. So when we get the list for version exclusives, depending on that, that's how I'll make my decision. But if I had to make a decision right now, I think I would pick Zacian. I mean, Zamazenta looks cool, but I would choose Zacian. But I have to see the version exclusives because there's certain Pokemon I might want in one version than the other. So, before I wrap this up, I want to talk about the controversy. Game Freak decided that they weren't going to put every Pokemon in this Pokemon game because there are up to 1,000 Pokemon now. And it's caused a huge uproar because people want to bring their old Pokemon from previous versions into this one. Like, I understand that. I get that. And I think that Game Freak should accommodate that if that's what people want to do. But I understand Game Freak's reasoning about not letting all the Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield. As I said earlier, they said that we're about up to 1,000 Pokemon, and just designing all of that is a lot of work. Really, the main reason is with the metagame, they know that it can get out of hand. So to kind of balance like Pokemon competitively, they want to exclude some Pokemon out of Pokemon Sword and Shield because they know if they just let them all in, people will be abusive, and then they'll start just playing these certain type of Pokemon. And Game Freak said it themselves; they want to give other Pokemon their time to shine. But if I was in Game Freak's shoes, I would do a situation where a compromise. Okay, you all can let all your Pokemon in as you want. They can't be illegally hacked or anything. If you've caught them and if you've bred them the right way, then you can bring them in. But when it comes to playing online and tournaments, just put restrictions. Okay, you can only play Pokemon that are in the Pokemon Sword and Shield Pokedex. That's it. That's the compromise that I would do. So if it's on the Pokemon Sword and Shield Pokedex, you can't play this Pokemon in a tournament or online. So if you want to have it with you in your box, if you want to play through it in the game, okay, that's fine. But if you just want to use it competitively and you want to just sweep everyone with it, no. So that's the compromise I would do if I was Game Freak. So that's all we have for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with all your friends, and all of you, have a great day.